Level 1. The Serf. You wake up before the sun. The straw beneath you is damp and it smells like rot and animal hair. You share this one-room hut with your parents, your 2 younger brothers, a goat, and whatever fleas have found you in the night. The walls are wattle and daub, sticks packed with mud and dung, and in the places where the mud has cracked, you can see the gray morning pressing through. You are 8 years old, and you have never slept anywhere else. Your mother is already at the fire. There is no chimney. The smoke finds its way out through a hole in the thatch and through your lungs first. Your eyes adjust. You pull on the same rough wool tunic you wore yesterday, and the day before, and every day before that. It scratches your neck. You stop noticing after the first hour. Breakfast is pottage, a thin porridge of oats and whatever root vegetables survived the winter. You eat it from a wooden bowl with your hands. There is black bread, dense and sour, made from rye and barley. It is the same every morning. It will be the same every evening. You do not own this land. You do not own this hut. Legally, you do not own yourself. You belong to the manor, and the lord of the manor belongs to someone higher, and so on up to a height you cannot imagine from where you're standing. Your day is plowing. Your father guides the ox and you walk behind, breaking clods with a wooden mallet. 3 days a week you work the Lord's fields. The other days you work your family's strip of land. You will do this until your body gives out, or the harvest fails. Both are more likely than not. At dusk you eat again. The fire burns low. The goat shifts beside you. You sleep. Level 2. The Reeve. You're 26 now. Your shoulders are broader and your hands are calloused in the specific way that comes from years of gripping a plow handle, thick across the palm, split at the knuckles. There is a scar on your left forearm from a reaping hook that slipped the summer you were 15. You do not think about it anymore. The village Reeve is chosen by the Lord's steward from among the villains, the man who seems most capable of keeping the others in line. Last autumn, when the previous Reeve died of a fever, the steward looked at you for a long moment and said nothing. 3 days later, you were collecting tallies. You wake now in the same village, but in a slightly larger hut with a proper door on leather hinges. You still eat pottage, but you eat it after the others have started work, not before. You carry a wooden staff, not a weapon, a symbol, and you walk the strips in the morning counting the hours of labor owed to the Lord. You know every family's debt. You know who is hiding grain and who is genuinely starving, and the difference matters because you will answer for both. You answer to the steward. The steward answers to the Lord. 200 serfs answer to you. You are the lowest rung of authority and the highest rung of poverty. And the distance between those two things is exactly the width of that wooden staff. Your fears have changed. You no longer fear only hunger. You fear error. You fear being blamed for a failed harvest you could not have prevented. You fear the steward's eyes on you at the autumn accounting. Level 3. The man-at-arms. You are 31. The scar on your forearm has company now, a shallow cut along your jaw from a training sword, earned in the castle yard on a cold morning 3 years ago when you were still learning how to hold a shield correctly. You left the village the year a knight rode through, and his escort was 2 men short. You were strong, and you had watched enough to know the basics, and the master-at-arms looked at your hands and said you'd do. You have been doing ever since. You sleep in the garrison now, a stone building inside the castle walls, 8 men to a room, on rope-strung beds with wool blankets. It is cold, but it is dry. You eat in the great hall at the lower tables, bread, salt pork, ale, occasionally roasted meat when the Lord hunts well. It is more food than you have ever eaten in your life. Your body has changed accordingly. Your equipment costs more than your family earned in 5 years. The gambeson, a padded linen jacket quilted with wool, was issued by the Lord. The iron cap is yours, bought with 2 years of wages. The sword is borrowed until you can afford your own. You maintain it every evening, running a whetstone along the edge in the firelight while the older men talk. You are not a knight. That distinction matters enormously. A knight is a man of property and ceremony and obligation. You are a professional soldier who serves at the Lord's pleasure and can be dismissed at the Lord's displeasure. You know this. You work accordingly. The battle you fought last autumn at a river crossing you cannot name on a map. You held the left flank for 4 hours in the rain with a spear, your feet planted in mud, the shaft slippery in your grip, watching the man next to you go down and closing the gap before you had time to think about it. Afterward, the captain looked at you in a specific way. 3 months later, you were carrying a sword of your own. Level 4. The Knight. You are 43. Your hair is going gray at the temples. Your left knee aches in cold weather from an old wound that healed crooked. You do not fight in the front line anymore. There are younger men for that. The ceremony of knighthood happened 12 years ago in a chapel at dawn. A night of prayer, a tap of the sword on your shoulder, a new set of obligations you have spent every year since trying to fulfill. You owe 40 days of military service per year to your lord. In return, you hold a manor of your own, a village, its fields, its mill, its serfs. 200 souls whose labor feeds you and funds your armor and pays for the destrier stabled in your yard. A horse worth more than the annual income of every family in your village combined. You wake in a proper bed now, in a stone manor house, with a fire in the hearth and a servant who brings water for washing. You eat well. Roasted meat, white bread, wine from the south, spiced dishes that arrive from the kitchen smelling of pepper and ginger. You wear wool of a quality your father never touched, lined with linen, held with brass fittings. Your armor hangs on a wooden stand in the corner of your room, and it takes 2 men 40 minutes to put it on correctly. There is a morning in autumn when you ride through mist on a hillside, and the world is completely silent, and you understand for the first time why men follow lords into battle. Not for God, not for honor. For this feeling, right here, before anything has happened yet. But your fears have changed again. The dangers are softer now. They leave no visible wounds. You chose the wrong side in a dispute between 2 powerful men last year, and you have been watching the consequences spread slowly outward like a crack in ice. The Lord's eldest son watches you with patience. You watch him back. Level 5. The Baron. You are 57. You have not held a sword in 6 years. You do not fight anymore. You decide who fights. You wake in a chamber at the top of a stone tower. The bed is wide and hung with wool curtains to hold the heat. There are 2 guards outside the door, not because you ordered them, but because there have always been 2 guards outside this door, and removing them would send a message you are not ready to send. The fire burns through the night. You still wake at 3 in the morning and lie still, listening. You control 3 counties. 40 knights hold land from you directly. Hundreds of men-at-arms. Thousands of serfs whose names you will never know. Decisions you make at a table in this room will determine whether families eat or starve this winter, whether young men march to a border you have never visited, whether a village that angered you continues to exist. The room is large. The world is very small. You are the most powerful man in the county. You are also, in every way that matters, completely trapped. The king watches you. Your vassals watch you. Your sons watch each other and then look at you. There is a knife under the mattress that has been there for 11 years, and you have never needed it. and you have never removed it. The cold comes through the stone the way it once came through the mud walls of a hut you were born in. The alertness is the same. The inability to fully rest is the same. The altitude changed. The imprisonment didn't.